So this is it, guys. The end of Tezuka season. 9 reviews, 9 manga of the god of manga himself, Osamu Tezuka. And today I'm going to be wrapping it up with Message to Adolf, arguably, possibly my favourite work of his, as you will come to learn from my review of it and, when I give my opinions of it. This has been, something like it's been difficult to review today even. Because my editing software has just been so whack and I haven't been able to get the camera to work, so I've literally been spending 2 hours trying to get this thing to work and it's been really exasperating. So I think it's working now. I hopefully it doesn't cut in the middle of me doing this. If there's a few jump cuts in this video, then it's just due to my editing software just being really whack at the moment. I've tried to verify disk permissions and everything, it's just not really working, but I don't know, maybe it's resolved itself. But anyway, probably the final time I'm ever going to say this, but you're watching Tezuka season. This is a series where I take a chronological and retrospective look at the works of Osamu Tezuka, or at least the ones that I own. The very few manga that I own are the ones that are available in English. I would consider myself from a Western perspective that I've read a good amount of Tezuka to be able to understand what kind of mangaka he was, but not enough Tezuka to really consider myself a connoisseur, considering how much manga he brought out. So who knows, maybe in another 40 years there'll be enough Tezuka manga available in English where I can actually consider myself something like that, like a Tezuka scientist, professor in Tezukaology. But yeah, Message to Adolf, published between 1983 and 1985. This is a manga that was, one of his last greats, essentially. It's regarded as Tezuka's last epic thriller, before obviously he passed away in 1989. So this is basically Tezuka at his peak, at his greatest, story-wise and art-wise as well. The art style is just such a cry away from his early works in like the 1950s, when his style was more Disney-esque. Now he's gone for a really gritty, Gekiga influenced, realistic style, in terms of his art. As you can see on the covers there, you can see your man Adolf Hitler, and actually it does look like him as well. But yeah, what do you expect? What are you going to expect when you pick this manga up? You're going to expect not a lot of humour, funnily enough. I mean, there's humour here and there, but it's really in small doses. This is a really serious take on a time in the 20th century that was essentially people were essentially preparing for the end of the world. It's set during the World War II era from the beginning, and it chronicles a period of I believe about maybe 30 or 40 years. Basically it starts in 1936 in the Berlin Olympics, and basically the Nazis are basically sweeping up all the awards. They're using this as propaganda to basically promote their Nazism, and that is the right party to go for. And we were introduced to a fellow called Sohei Toge, who is a Japanese news reporter who's reporting on the Olympics. He's having a really good time. He's young. He's in the flux of his career, and he gets a call from his younger brother, who's also staying in Berlin, saying that he really needs to meet up with him. He's got something really secret, in his possession that could essentially topple the Nazi party. It's some form of document that, if made public, if Toge manages to get his hands on this and publish it, then it could essentially wipe the Nazis off the face of the earth. It's that dire. So when Sohei Toge goes to meet up his brother, when he gets there, he finds that his brother has been killed, murdered, and whatever document he had in his possession is gone. His apartment is completely ransacked, and thus begins Toge's path to try and find the killer and find out why his brother was killed and what exactly his brother was embroiled in to warrant such a merciless killing. Because the way he's killed is really bad. I mean, you don't get to see it; you just get to see the after effect of it, the aftermath of it. But it was a really violent struggle by the looks of it. So yeah, that's kind of like the prelude to the story. Like in the first few chapters, This story overall follows the lives of three characters. I guess you could say four if you included Adolf Hitler. But three main primary characters. The first being Sohei Toge, who's a Japanese news reporter. He's kind of like the central sort of like the spine of the story, and he gives like narration to the story as well. And then we've got like the two Adolfs. There's three Adolfs in the story. There's Adolf Hitler. There's Adolf Kamil, who is a Jewish boy, a son of a baker living in Japan. And we have Adolf Kaufmann, who is the son of a Nazi diplomat. He's half Japanese and half German. His father is a Nazi, and his mother is Japanese. And him and Adolf Kaufmann and Kamil are really good friends. They share a real connection with each other. And despite their cultural differences and the turmoils of war and things like that, or looming war, because taking into account that their friendship is before the Second World War, it's pre-wartime Japan, but they have a really significant bond. Kamil basically is paranoid about him being a Jew, and if Kaufmann really does accept him, and Kaufmann's like, well, I don't care about the Nazi ways. I don't care if you're a Jew. You're my friend, and we'll always be friends. And that's basically the setting for the story. We see these two characters grow up and change. Without going into spoiler territory, these secret documents, basically become, I guess you could say, the gold at the end of the rainbow for this story. That they're always out of reach, and essentially they are the main goal and main focus of the story. This conspiracy surrounding the Nazi Party, and it needing to be made public. And Sohei is obviously after these documents, and Kaufmann and Kamil get embroiled up in the scheme. Kamil actually finds out the contents of the documents, and is absolutely sworn to secrecy. But even though these two characters are friends, they gradually drift apart as the war sets in. As the war starts, I guess you could say Kaufmann is pressured by the Nazis, to basically leave the Aryan race, become, a Hitler youth. Is enrolled into a Adolf Hitler high school, I think he called it, or Adolf Hitler Academy, to basically study in Naziology or Nazism, and become, a proud white supremacist Nazi, essentially. And we get to see this transition with his character from a loving, compassionate person to a brutal, callous, evil, Nazi. And it's really, really tragic because, obviously his best friend is a Jew, and we get to see these characters, struggle and try to cope with, everything that's going on around them, and the fact that he's been brainwashed, and he knows initially that it is just brainwashing, but he eventually succumbs to that because he's all but human. And this is something that I really love about this character and the characters generally in this story, is that they are so fantastically developed. Just absolutely flawless character writing, and just the writing generally, and the pacing as well, because that's something with a lot of Tezuka works that sometimes I've had a little bit of problem with, is pacing, in terms of the timelines and things like that, and how quickly or slowly things move. With Message to Adolf, you know exactly where you stand, you know where you're at, you know what time it is, you know what locale they're in, you know how old they are at a particular time, because obviously the characters change, they grow older, they start to change, they look different. There's third party characters that are introduced, that get embroiled with the two Adolfs, and it's just a really masterfully written story. I can't praise it enough. It's just flawless. I'm pretty sure I give this a 10 out of 10, or maybe I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not exactly too sure. But you have really good secondary characters as well. We have Acetylene Lamp, who's basically a member of the Gestapo, who's constantly trying to hound down Sohei Toge, and basically just thwart his ambitions to retrieve these documents and make them public, because obviously after Sohei's brother's death, he needs to get these documents because the documents are sort of like a keepsake, you know, a final promise that, you know, he needs to make to his brother, you know, to allow his brother to essentially rest in peace. And it's almost like a revenge mission, because Sohei knows that there's something wrong with the Nazis. Obviously when the war kicks in and they start, you know, persecuting the Jews and, you know, putting them in the ghettos and eventually putting them in concentration camps, you know, the world gradually starts to see that, you know, Nazism is just a plague of the earth, you know, a cancer of the earth. You know, what they're doing is essentially inhumane. But I mean, I generally love stories, you know, surrounding World War II anyway. This was totally up my street. You know, it's just something I absolutely loved it. You know, there's, you know, like I said, there's really good secondary characters like Elisa, who's a Chinese Jewish girl who ends up being the center of a love triangle between Camille and Kaufman. And you know, it ends up kind of being the crux between why their relationship kind of breaks down, on top of the fact that, you know, Kaufman is a Nazi and Camille is a Jew. It really just spirals out of control, you know, in terms, you know, for these characters, you know, that life just totally just blows them out of the water. Camille really is, and not only Camille, but every Jew that's depicted in this story truly is just a victim of circumstance that is, you know, completely not their fault. You know, the level of persecution that you see in this, and characters that are developed and end up being killed off just mercilessly for no reason, is just it just really highlights the sickening aspects of, you know, the war that truly happened in real life. And I think it's a really good depiction of that time. You know, Tezuka really deals with it, you know, with humility. He's really humble about it, and I think that's why, as well, there's not really much comedy in it, or any comedy for that matter, because it's not something, you know, that you can really put comedy in it. There's nothing comedic about it. There's no opportunities for comedy. It's just tooth to the nail thriller, and it's so good. I mean, as soon as the story ended, I just wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about these characters' lives. You know, I wanted to know the legacy that they left behind, because it's just fantastic. And the climax at the end as well. The ending was absolutely fantastic. It ended perfectly for me. I can't recommend this manga enough. It's still in print. You know, if you want to go out and buy this, absolutely go out and buy this. It's amazing. As you can see from these beautiful hardcovers here, Vertigo did a stellar job. You know, like with most Tezuka manga published in English, it's flopped, but that in no way distracts away from the story at all, other than, you know, the Nazi salutes being the other way around, and, you know, the swastika's kind of inverted, but that really doesn't take away from the story. It's barely noticeable. I mean, I didn't really notice it because the story is so engrossing. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go out and buy this, you know, if you want to support me, you can click on my book depository affiliate link, which is in the description below. Generally, if you want to buy manga and you want to support me that way, basically click that link, it'll take you to the book depository. Book depository is a really great site. I use it myself. You can get free worldwide shipping, cheap manga, and it's just a really great way to get to buy manga. And obviously, if you support me that way, I get a commission off of every sale made. So everybody wins. You get manga, I get, you know, a little bit of wonga. But yeah, seriously, you know, thank you guys for supporting this Tezuka season. I know it's gone on for a lot longer than I expected. You know, 9 videos and it's like 9 months. Something stupid like I started this like last September or something. So. But even though it's the last Tezuka season video, this isn't going to be the last Tezuka review that I do. Obviously there are other Tezuka works that I plan on buying and reading. They will be reviewed and probably added to this playlist as just like a bonus, but they won't be part of Tezuka season. Going on from now, I'll just be reviewing normal manga, just, you know, a normal eclectic mix of manga that I've been reading. I'm going to be reviewing Biomega, Pluto, what have I been reading recently, Kurosagi Cops Delivery Service. So yeah, guys, seriously, thank you so much for supporting this series of videos. It's been a long haul, but, you know, I do really appreciate you subscribers, and I love you guys so much. You know, thank you so much. And that's Tezuka season, guys. Goodbye.